Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Lego Dungeons and Dragons Collectible Minifigures Series 71047. We get it on Sunday, September 1st, 2024, which is a release day for Lego. I highly encourage you to show up at your actual physical Lego store that's closest to you and purchase these on day one. And you need a Lego Insider account to do that, which is free. You can sign up beforehand. But today we're going to talk about the Tiefling Sorcerer and specifically her extra part, right? So all of these collectible minifigures come with weapons, and some of them come with companions. So what are some of the companions we've seen? The Aarakocra Ranger came with a dog. Lord von Zarovich von Strahd came with a rat, okay? But the Tiefling Sorcerer comes with the most important familiar, right, companion animal that is connected to any of this first Lego Dungeons & Dragons CMF series, and that is the baby red dragon, and it is a huge historical deal. So one, this thing is going to be massively popular. I am predicting this is the new Lego goat, right? Now, there was a goat that came in one of these CMF before, and it actually was significantly valuable for a while. And it was the most popular and most favorite of all the figures in that set because people really wanted to get the goat, right? So people love animals today. Animals are more important in American culture than they've ever been before. And so this is a really big deal to have this character in here, and to have this as part of the milieu for Lego Dungeons and Dragons. So why is this important? Well, the biggest thing is it's Lego Dungeons and Dragons, right? Now we have a dungeon. It was built into Lego Dungeons and Dragons Red Dragon's Tale. We have a dragon. That dragon, I don't think you could buy Cinderhal for $150, right? First of all, absolutely no one is going to want to split that dragon off from from the series, right? It might cost you as much to buy Cinderhal as it would to buy the whole set, right? And frankly, I think you'd be much better off just buying the whole set. So it is extremely difficult to get a dragon in Lego Dungeons and Dragons as it stands today before Sunday, September 1st. 2024. But on Sunday, September 1st, 2024, it is not going to be hard to get a dragon. You're just going to have to be able to, they are randomly packed, so there's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but you might be able to get it as low as $5 if you get lucky, and $10 even if you don't, on a secondary market, right? Or just continue to buy until you get this figure. It's a big deal, right? And the reason why is, first of all, dragons are absolutely not common in Dungeons and Dragons. They're pretty rare. When player characters meet them, they are outrageously dangerous. They're more likely to kill you than to, cuddle you. They are hyper dangerous creatures, right? Now, this baby red dragon is saying that this sorcerer has a baby red dragon as her familiar, right? First of all, that is not even possible from the 2024 PHB to my knowledge, or from the 2014 PHB to my knowledge, right? You cannot do this. You cannot just start the game with a baby dragon, right? Who's imprinted to you and loves you and serves you. That is apples bananas, right? But it's happening in Lego, right? And now this baby red dragon is going to be very common among the minifigures. So while it's rare in the game, it's not rare at all in the Lego collection of Lego Dungeons and Dragons species, characters, and familiars, right? And to tell the truth, we're getting this as a familiar before there's tons of missing familiars that are already missing from the pack, right? Like we don't even have the normal list of familiars, but we have this familiar that the rules do not provision, right? But Lego did provision it. And so one of the things I think is really fascinating is I believe I was fascinated by this from from the gate. And I think what is really fascinating about this is that you get Lego is changing Dungeons and Dragons canon. I've started talking all about this already. So in Lego Dungeons and Dragons Red Dragon's Tale, the gelatinous cube is smaller than the gelatinous cube is in D&D, right? But what is going to become canon? The Lego sizes or the PHB sizes? And I think the answer is the Lego, right? And the reason why is the people who are getting the Lego are better Dungeons and Dragons dungeon masters and dragon masters, right? They're the best. They're the ones who are most committed and want the most for their campaigns, without exception. It's not even debatable, right? If you're using 28 millimeter, you are second tier dungeon master. You are second tier. I'm not sure you're even a dragon master. Maybe the term Dungeons and Dragons player is appropriate for you, right? Like, that's just old tech, right? And it's just kind of lazy. 28 millimeter is lazy at this point. And the reason why is it just gives the dragon master so many less options. On these 28 millimeters, you really can effortlessly and very economically and very with many parameterizations, you cannot actually switch the gender, switch the weapon, switch the spell book, switch the arcane focus. You could do all of this seamlessly, effortlessly, at very low price points compared to, actually, some of this stuff with 28 millimeter, you can't do it at any price point, right? Like, you can't. It doesn't matter what you're willing to pay. You cannot do it with 28 millimeter. Whereas with Lego, it's so much better. They're not even comparable, right? Like, anybody using 28 millimeter is second tier dungeon master, second tier dragon master, in my humble opinion. It's just where we've reached, right? So with all that said, Lego is already changing Dungeons and Dragons canon, right? And so I think dungeon masters are provisioned to handle this, right? Because a player is going to be like, oh, hey, I've brought my species, I've brought my class, and I've brought my familiar. I am a Tiefling sorcerer. They're not even going to say it. They're just going to put this down. They're going to put it down on a circular plate, Lego plate, and they're going to say, here's my character, let's go, right? And they're not going to ask to use a Lego Dungeons and Dragons Red Dragon Baby as their sorcerer familiar, which the book does not provision in any way, right? So how does that get handled, right? Well, the worst dungeon masters in the community are going to be like, you can't do that because the book doesn't say it, right? But even an average dungeon master would be like, oh, I remember how to handle this. Page 4, the rules aren't in charge, you're in charge. If that player is excited to play a fully official Dungeons and Dragons canon miniature that has a red baby dragon, I'm going to provision it, right? And so you're going to see Tiefling sorcerers with red baby dragon familiars commonly at the table now, right? And the only people who are going to have, the only dragon master going to have a problem is some poor, dragon master got stuck with some, crusty grognard who's like, no, the PhD doesn't say it, and I have no imagination, and you're unfortunately at this table, But anybody else, this is going to be provisioned immediately. This is a very big deal. The reason why is we've reached a point where dragons are not common in Dungeons and Dragons canon hardbacks, but they are common in the official Lego Dungeons and Dragons miniatures and official Lego Dungeons and Dragons terrain and official Lego Dungeons and Dragons everything, right? So that is going to be a juxtaposition which will be managed by the Dungeon Master. And I think this is fascinating. This is an incredibly important historic moment in Dungeons and Dragons, where we're seeing that Lego Dungeons and Dragons canon hardbacks are not the only source of Dungeons and Dragons canon hardbacks are not the only source of Dungeons and Dragons canon. Lego has officially become a strong, powerful source of Dungeons and Dragons canon, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing and have a fetch millennium.